in order to either free ourselves completely from all the suffering and the samsara, and to achieve nirvana, or in order to liberate all sentient beings from the suffering and cause of suffering, and in order to guide all sentient beings to enlightenment. Then one need to achieve in fully enlightenment, and either to achieve nirvana or either to achieve fully enlightenment. We need to overcome all the defilement, all the delusions. And in order to overcome all the delusion or all the defilements, we need to cut the very root of all this delusion, the fundamental ignorance. And in order to overcome that fundamental ignorance, we need to cultivate the antidotes, the direct antidote of that ignorance. That is the wisdom or special insight, realizing the emptiness or ultimate truth or reality, whatever you call, different. And that is a crucial, without that wisdom realizing the emptiness or ultimate truth, we can reduce the delusions, we can stop it from manifesting for a while, but we cannot eliminate it completely. And the only way to eliminate the delusions completely from the very root, that it does not arise anymore, no matter what the cause and condition arises, is only through that wisdom, realizing the emptiness. And so therefore, the wisdom realizing emptiness is so crucial, so important. And that is the very heart of all the Buddha's teachings. That is the very essence of all the Buddha's teachings. As Shantideva explained at the very beginning of chapter 6, as he said, all other 5 perfections, among the 6 perfections, all other 5 perfections are taught as a way to guide and lead towards that perfection of wisdom, and so all other 5 perfections are a means or branch or the way to lead towards that perfection of wisdom, because that is the key. That is the key to overcome all the delusions. And so we have been kind of following that on Shantideva's, following the Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. And we are in and then I think we're in page number 154, and where there's a result of the wisdom, and where it says wisdom, result of the wisdom, and where verse number 151. So from here it explains about the benefit of cultivating that wisdom. The result of having generated the wisdom realizing the emptiness, the benefit of cultivating that wisdom the advantage or the reason why we need to develop that wisdom, So until this, until 150 verses, Shandeva establish how the persons, ourself, and our belonging, or such as our mind, experience, our body, as well as all other phenomena are empty of inherent existence. He established that through reasoning and logic, many reasoning and logics. How all the conditioned phenomena, as well as non-conditioned phenomena, all of them equally are empty of truly or inherently independent existence. He also explained how not only the samsara and samsaric existence, but also the nirvana and nirvana existence also all equally, both samsara and nirvana, both of them also are empty of truly inherently independent existence. And how all this, everything that appears and that exists, both samsara and nirvana, and all phenomena within the samsara and nirvana, how all of them exist only by dependent arisings. How everything's empty of independent existing by itself. Instead, all of them exist by depending on other factors, other conditions. And so, and he explained and established, not just through quotation from the Buddha's scriptures or others, because Buddha said that, but with a lot of many reasoning and logics, and trying to. And so then once you have established that, and once you have that correct understanding of that emptiness, once we have that correct understanding or realization of emptiness and develop that wisdom through that, what is the benefit of that? Why we need to develop that wisdom? Why is it so important to develop that wisdom? Why is it so important to understand the emptiness? So then next, now he's explaining why we need to have that wisdom that realizes the emptiness correctly. And generally speaking, the gradual process of the path, is, I think it will be good because we are talking about wisdom, correctly realizing the emptiness. There are many different levels of the wisdoms. At the very beginning, we can have wisdom that is more kind of intellect on understanding, correct understanding of emptiness, more on intellectual level, through studying, hearing, reading, studying yourself. Through studying, first we have this intellectual understanding, through studying, we have intellectual understanding. And that understanding is the wisdom through hearing. But that is not enough. We have to go beyond that. And then to have experiential understanding, we have to go from intellectual understanding to experiential understanding. In order to go to that points, next step from intellectual understanding, experiential understanding, then we need to reflect again and again. First you hear about the teachings or you study the teachings. Whatever you have heard or learned, you try to reflect again and again, again and again. Through that kind of reflections, as you reflect again and again and again, then it becomes more and more refined, more and more deep, more and more profound understanding. And then you have total convictions in that teachings of emptiness. Now you have no more doubt. It's like you have experimented in your lab, and then you found through your experimenting in your life, you come to that finding, the result, and now you are 100% convinced of that. You have no doubt anymore. Through that reflections, then your conviction become more stronger and stronger, more deeper and deeper, more profound there. And that wisdom, when you have that from your feeling, from deep of your heart, that feeling that come through that kind of reflections, then that is your wisdom has, your wisdom have improved or progress, and then it becomes the wisdom relies on the emptiness through reflecting. Oh, did you get lost? I think, yeah. I don't know, I think something wrong with my iPad or something. It keeps happening time to time. It just, screen just go off. And so then that is the wisdom through reflections become more profound, more deeper. But again, that is not enough. You have to go beyond that. Once you have that convictions, even though you have strong convictions, but still it's not natural. Like we have many things, we have convictions of certain things, but when we think about it, then we remember, but every day we don't think of that. It has not become natural and all the time. When you make an effort and when you think about it, then that is what it is. But when you don't think about it, when you don't reflect, then it doesn't naturally arises. And now what we need is meditations. That means the conviction that you had, then you familiarize that, repeat that again and again. It's like in physical body, you are doing same posture, same exercise again and again. So then it becomes more and more effortless, more and more natural, more and more spontaneous, Just like we are good at meditating, it is a different object. We are good at meditating on attachment, anger, because we think so much on them every day. Our attachment is very spontaneous, naturally. You don't have to put any effort. When you come into contact with one object, attachment arises just like that. When you come in contact with the object of anger, it just arises like that. Why? Because of familiarity. So meditations is making that familiarity, that your understanding, that your convictions, you repeat that exercise again and again. And at the very beginning, it requires more effort. And slowly, slowly, with the time and familiarity, it requires less and less effort. And it becomes more and more natural. It becomes more and more spontaneous. It becomes more and more effortless. And so then through that, then your meditation, your wisdom that comes through meditations become much more profound, much more deeper, much more deep. So there are three levels of wisdom we talk about. Wisdom through hearing, wisdom through reflection, wisdom through meditations. And that sequences, that gradual is explained by Kamala Shila, of course in the sutra, and then especially within the Indian master in Kamala Shila, his stages of meditation, he explained clearly on that, and then Lama Tsongkhapa and many other masters as well. So now you have experiential understanding, but still there is a long way to go. Still there is a long way to go, you know. So at the very beginning, your understanding is experiential, but it is still with the reasoning and logic. So it is still with the thoughts, with the concept, inference, you know, inferential, because you are still using concept. You are still using a concept for a reasoning and logic. And so there is still dualistic view, even though you have understanding of emptiness, but still your experience of understanding, still there is a dualistic. And then on the path, as we progress in the path, the path of accumulation and path of preparation, within those, then as you progress, you know, then your experiential understanding of emptiness, the wisdom through meditation become more and more even deeper, more and more profound, and become less and less dualistic, you know, less and less dualistic. And then when we reach the path of seeing, the third one, then you are able to have the wisdom realizing emptiness directly, without any dualistic, you know. Then you have direct realizations. And when you have that direct realization, then that is the most powerful antidote to really destroy the delusions. And that at that point, you will be able to destroy all the delusions, what we call kunda, the fabricated, but still the subtle delusion are still there. Therefore, you still continue to meditate on the emptiness. And then on the next path, the path of what we call meditations, you know, then as you make more progress on that, then you will be able to destroy even the more subtle and more subtle delusions. And then when you have overcome even the most subtle delusions, then next, the path of no more learning is when you achieve the nirvana, arhat. In terms of bodhisattvas, then together with the bodhicitta mind, then you overcome even not only the delusion, but even the subtle obscuration, the imprint of the delusions, and then next you become the Buddha when you achieve the path of no more learning, the fifth path. Okay, so that is kind of the process, progressively developing the wisdom, realizing emptiness. So I think I just wanted to kind of mention a little bit, because the delusion is not going to go immediately once you have a realization of emptiness. Do you get it? Even though we wish that would be the case, you know, we wish that was the case, but it's not that once you have a realization of emptiness, the delusion gone boom like that immediately. It doesn't go immediately like that. But the moment you have realization emptiness, then the delusion will start to become, less and less. You will have an effect. It doesn't mean that the delusion will be less intense. The delusion will not last long. So you will start to have effect, but like it will not be immediately kind of eliminated and gone, all the delusion immediately like that. And also it's good to know that, not to have that kind of, I guess is not to have, it is not good to have unrealistic expectations. Thinking, oh, once I have realization and emptiness, then all the delusion gone, boom, like that. Then when you have a realization and emptiness and still the delusion is still there, then you will be disappointed. But definitely, it will have an effect. If it was very intense before, it will start to become less and less intense. If it was very frequent before, it will start to become less and less frequent. And slowly, as we improve, then that will be able to help. So that is the, I just wanted to kind of explain the gradual process of the wisdom. And so then, where there is, what is there to gain and what is there to lose, with things that are empty of true existence in this way. Who is there to pay me respect and who is there to abuse me? So once we have understood the emptiness correctly, then we understand, even though we understand that all phenomena, everything that appear and exists are empty of truly and inherently existing, even though they appear truly and inherently existing, independently existing, but in reality, they all are empty of truly inherently independent existence. They all are, therefore, they all are like a dream. They all are like an illusion. They all are like a mirage. They all are like a reflections in the mirror, reflections in the water. They all are like a, echoes. When you have the echo of the sound, even though it appears the sound is coming from that rock, when there is certain area, but actually it's not really coming from there. It's coming from whether it's another sentient beings, someone or bird, whatever sound that is. But to us at the very beginning, it appeared that way. So like that, So we understand, once we understand that, one we understand all these phenomena are like dream, like illusions and like that. And then when we look, when we hear, when we smell, when we taste, when we touch, when we think, every object at the moment, every object appears to our mind as existing inherently, truly, independently. When you understand emptiness, immediately when you have that appearance, you immediately are aware, oh, even though that is what appeared to my mind, my consciousness, they are empty of truly existence. You are able to immediately be aware of that. The moment you have that appearance, that very moment, you are able to be aware, oh, there is that appearance, but it's empty of inherent existence. is empty of truly existence, is empty of independent existence. And so you are, the moment you have that appearance, that appearance make you to be aware of emptiness. That appearance make you to be aware of the emptiness. And through that, you are able to be aware and recognize and understand of the emptiness of that object. And when that happens, that is when we have a correct understanding of emptiness. That should be the case. And when that happens, and then immediately you are able to be aware, oh, I'm that appearance because of the ignorance and imprint of the ignorance. Not because the reality is that way, but because of the ignorance and because of the imprint of ignorance, that is why things are appearing that way. Because of the ignorance and imprint, that is how things are appearing. Even though things are appearing that way because of ignorance and imprint, but that is not how the thing really exists. You are able to immediately be aware of that. And when you are able to be there, then, when you are aware of that emptiness, then, then whenever, at the moment, whenever we gain something, we're attached to it. We cling and grasp to that gain. Whenever we lose something, we get very disappointed, upset, angry, sad, depressed, So at the moment, whenever we lose something, our mind is disturbed, We feel very unhappy. Sometimes upset and angry. Sometimes with others, sometimes with ourselves. Why? The reason why we lose something, sometimes because we lose something, we might be upset with ourselves for losing that. Or sometimes we are upset with someone because we blame them for losing that. Basically, whether you blame yourself or you blame others, but we are basically upset and angry. And whenever we make some profit, gain, whatever that is, then we started to cling on that. We started to grasp on that. Clinging and grasping, attachments. That is due to not understanding emptiness. Why we react that way at the moment. When we gain and when we lose something, why we react that way? Because of due to not understanding the emptiness. Due to not understanding emptiness. Once we have understanding, correct understanding of emptiness, then we don't respond that way. Our mind does not respond that way. Because through understanding emptiness, you understand, the object of gain. There is no object to be gained. There is no object to be lost. So when there is no object to be gained and there is no object to be lost, why get so attached and clinging to when you gain it? Why do you get so unhappy, depressed, or angry and upset when you lose? So then that is, What is there to be gained and what is there to be lost? When you analyze, when you understand emptiness, then you see, when you understand emptiness, you understand the object of gain, the object of the gain to whom we cling and grasp and get attached. You see the empty because there's no object to be found, and because and so you don't get attached. And in terms of when you lose something, then you see, when you understand emptiness, there's no object to be lost, and so therefore, what is there to lose when there's no object? And so through that understanding, then you don't have, all these emotions, disturbing emotions. And that is how we are able to reduce and overcome attachments towards gain, anger or aversions toward lose. And that is how we can, and same thing, who is there to pay me respect and who is there to be abused me? Normally, when we don't have understanding of emptiness, when we don't have realization of emptiness, we have strong feeling of, inherent, truly independent existing self. Me who has been respected. And then there is a sense of inherent, truly existing, independent existing respect. And there is act of truly inherently independent act of paying that respect. And due to that, then when someone pay respect, again, we get attached to that. We get attached to that. We get attached to the respect. Because we get attached to the respect, then we want people to respect us all the time. And if we feel someone is not respectful, we get upset, angry, disappointed. That is how our mind gets disturbed. Oh, he or she was so disrespectful. He or she was so disrespectful. And that upset us. That disturbed our minds. Why? Why? Because we're attached to the respect. Because we were attached and clinging and grasping to the respect. And because of that, we want that all the time. And when we feel that is not being fulfilled, when we feel that we are not being respected, then we get kind of, our mind get disturbed. But once you have realization of emptiness, then you understand, there's no inherently, truly independent existing respect. There's no actions of truly inherently independent paying respect. And there is no I to whom that is respected. And so when you have that realizations of emptiness, then you don't get attached to the respect. You don't have the same clinging, attachment, and grasping to the respect. And if you don't have any kind of grasping, clinging, and attached to the respect, who cares whether someone respect you or disrespect you? Doesn't affect you. Wouldn't that be wonderful when you are not affected by whether someone is respectful or disrespectful? At the moment, we are constantly affected by how people respond to us, whether they are responding respectfully or not respectfully or disrespectfully. And that affects our mind and our emotions and our life so much. then, you have it doesn't matter, If someone respects, that is wonderful, it's good, they are creating merit, they are being nice, If they don't respect, that is fine, This is who they are, they choose to do that, but it doesn't affect you. Either way, so much, yourself, it doesn't affect yourself. And so then your mind is not disturbed. Your mind is not disturbed. So since your mind is not disturbed, you are much more peaceful, calm, and it doesn't give rise to any delusions. You don't create negative karma because delusion doesn't arise. And so that is what. So, and also, who is there to abuse me? And at the moment when someone abuses us, insult us, in whatever way, sometimes physically, sometimes verbally, sometimes emotionally, again, it affects us so much. It affects us so much. Our mind gets very disturbed when someone insult, humiliate us, abuse us, criticize us, Why? Again, because of not understanding emptiness. Because we have strong disliking and aversion to such behavior and such act. Because we have a strong disliking, aversions, and we don't want such actions, such behavior. And why do we have such a strong aversion and disliking to such behavior or such actions? It's because, again, such actions, such behavior appear to us as something inherently, truly, independently unwanted, inherently, independently, truly, non-beneficial, bad, and something, and we grasp that way. But once you have understand emptiness, then you see, that act of insulting, abusing, criticizing, that act itself is empty of truly existing, inherently existing, independent existing. The persons who is acting that way is empty of truly, inherently, independent existing, empty of that. Yourself, to whom that act is reacted, to whom you yourself is empty of truly inherent existence. And so you see emptiness of all of that. And when you see all empty of all of that, then it doesn't bother you. It doesn't bother you. There's no truly existing self to whom that has directed that actions. There's no actions that truly existing actions. And there's no someone who is truly existing person who is reacting that way. And therefore, and who is there to abuse me? And so when then, it doesn't affect you again. It doesn't affect you again. If someone abuse, insult, criticize, you think, oh, they are creating negative karma. I wish they don't create negative karma. You feel compassion for them. But it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect you negatively as it affects us at the moment. And it doesn't affect you, then your mind is not disturbed. If your mind is not disturbed, You don't need to be upset and angry. And so then, even they behave that, you don't get upset and angry. So your mind is not disturbed, or you don't get upset and angry. Delusion doesn't arise. You don't need to create more negative karma. And that is how we start. That is where we started to end. Stop creating more negative karma to experience pain and suffering in the samsara. Because we stop creating negative karma. And we are able to stop negative karma because we stop the delusion from arising. And we are able to stop the delusion from arising because our mind is not affected negatively by that person's actions, behavior. And we are able to do that because of realization of the emptiness, because of the wisdom realizing the emptiness of the persons, the emptiness of that word, the abuse itself, the insulting word, abusing word, the criticism word itself, the act of criticizing, abusing, insulting, emptiness of that, as well as emptiness of yourself. So, again, wouldn't that be wonderful? Someone can criticize or praise you. It doesn't affect your mind either being too angry or too attached. Whether people become respectful or disrespectful, it doesn't affect you so much negatively. Whether people like you or dislike you, it doesn't affect you so much. Either people help you or doesn't help you, it doesn't affect you so much. Whether people say nice thing about you or doesn't say nice thing about you or say bad thing about it, doesn't affect your mind. Wouldn't that make our life much more stable, calm, peaceful? At the moment, our mind is always up and down, all the time, according to how people respond to us, how people act to us, affect us so much. When people like you, our mind starts to become too uplifting, too excited, too uplifting. When people doesn't like us, then we start to become kind of unhappy, depressing, down. How is interesting, how our life is affected by other people's opinions, other people's behaviors, other people's liking, not liking, and so forth, It's really, if we really think about it, it's all about that. All the time. So in a way, we have given the key to our happiness to other people. So they have the key for our happiness, not to ourselves. Whether we are happy or not, it depends on their opinions, their behaviors, their response. their action, their reactions is incredible, isn't it? It's like giving the key to our happiness to someone else. And someone has the control over whether we're happy or not happy. So when we have a realization of emptiness, then we are taking the key back to ourselves. We have the key to be happy. It doesn't depend on others. It doesn't depend other people's behavior, actions, response, reactions, other people's opinions, other people's liking, disliking, does not affect your mind, does not affect your state of mind. So that is what it here is saying. I think maybe we can have a short break. I guess so. I hope so.
Yes.
In emptiness, there's nothing to be back, nothing to be gone.
Nobody.
Yeah. So
Nobody is here, and we like it that way.
So yeah, it's similar to, I don't remember exactly which, it's a material text, but I don't remember which exactly text, where it's similar to what we just went through, where he says, in emptiness, there's nothing to be abandoned. In emptiness, there's nothing to be achieved. You know, so again, not only we should not have any clinging and grasping to the samsara, which is to be abandoned, but also we shouldn't be also attachment to the nirvana, which is to be achieved. And so therefore, when we understand the emptiness, then we understand in emptiness, there's nothing to be abandoned and there's nothing to achieve. And therefore, you don't get, neither we get attached to the samsara, neither we get attached to the nirvana as well. So then here in the next verse, 152, from what are the pleasure and pain derived? What is there to be happy or unhappy about? You know, so again, we derive pleasure or happiness because, you know, our mind believe there is a object of attachment, the object of the pleasure or object of the happiness as being a truly inherently independently, and we have this pain or unhappiness because again we believe there is our mind believing that object of that unhappiness, the object of that pain, to be a you know, truly and inherently independent. But if we really analyze with ultimate analysis, the object of the the object of the pleasure and the object of the pain, with ultimate analysis, they are not to be found. You know, and when there is no object itself, then there is no feelings that arises due to that object. And when there is no feeling that arises to that object, then there is no reason to get attached to one feeling and aversion to the other feelings. So again, you know, it is like, you know, in the dream, there is appearance of someone, you know, insulting, abusing. And in the dream, you are not aware it's a dream. You feel it's so real. And so then we have a lot of pain in the dream state. You are going through a lot of pain because of that person's, in the dream, that person's harmful actions. And you, in your dream, you are not aware it's dream and you believe it's true, real. And because of that, in dream, you are really, in the dream state, you are experiencing pain. On the other hand, you know, in the dream state, you know, you are being pleased, very much praised, respected, giving a lot of, you know, gifts. So you dream of that. In the dream, you are not aware it's a dream. So in the dream, you feel it's a real. And so therefore, then you have a lot of, in the dream state, you are experiencing a lot of joy, happiness on the basis of that. But when you wake up and you notice, oh, that was just a dream. It was not real. It was just a dream. Then neither you have strong aversions, anger you had towards someone in the dream state because you are not aware it was not real and not aware it was a dream. That feeling is no more there. As well as the feeling of happiness and attachment towards that happiness because of what you dream in the dream, and you are aware that, oh, it was just a dream. There was no real person who was praising me. There was no real person who was really respecting. There was no real person who was really giving me a gift. It was just a dream. Once you realize it, then neither there is that. In the same way, when we realize all these different feelings of happiness, unhappiness, as well as the cause of all these cause or object of those happiness and unhappiness, they all are like a dream state. They are not really true and real as it appeared to us, but they are more like a dream state. When you realize that, then you don't get so attached to the feeling of happiness, neither you get attached to the aversions and disliking to the feeling of unhappiness. And when we have understanding of emptiness, and that is what happens, you know, we are able to kind of, again, yeah, you know, a lot of time, again, like previous verses, we are very unhappy because we are so attached to happiness. You know, because we are so attached to the happiness, we are obsessed with happiness. Oh, I want happiness. I want happiness. I need happiness. And when you feel, oh, I don't have happiness, I don't, there's no happiness, then we become more unhappy. But if you don't have any attachment to that happiness, then you wouldn't have an aversion to the unhappiness, disliking to the unhappiness. Then whether it is happy, unhappy, it doesn't disturb you so much. It comes and goes. It doesn't last. It doesn't become big problems. You know, at the moment we hold on them. You know, when some unhappy experience manifests due to cause and conditions. For example, you might be feeling lonely, you might be feeling anxiety, you might be feeling weary, you might be feeling, anger or upset or frustrations or impatience, whatever those different emotions that could arise due to certain cause and conditions, and because there's strong grasping, in a sense, that not disliking them, not wanting them. And this is something you dislike so much, you have so much aversion and you don't want, but it is arising and it become more suffering. Do you get it what I mean? Because something you don't want, you so desperately want to get rid of that. You desperately wanted to escape from that. You desperately wanted to run away from that. You desperately doesn't want that. But you can't do anything because it is arising. And then it becomes much more painful. But instead, if you are not so desperate, if you don't have so much strong disliking, so much strong aversions, even it arises, it is a moment of discomfort, moment of unpleasant, and then that is it. You don't hold on to that. But we hold on that because of that kind of, strong grasping, and then it makes the pain become much more painful, much more lasting, more intense, and so that is where, so in emptiness, in emptiness, there is no object of pleasure and there is no object of pain. And neither there is in emptiness. Therefore, since there is no object of pleasure and no object of pain, therefore in emptiness, there is also no happiness and also no non-happiness, unhappiness. So that is where, when I search for the ultimate nature, so that is the emptiness. When you look for the ultimate nature of the happiness itself, unhappiness itself, the object of happiness, object of unhappiness itself, when you look for the ultimate nature of each of them, then they are not to be found. And so therefore, therefore you don't have the clinging and grasping. Who is there to be craved, and what is there to be craved for? Same thing, Most of our negative emotions arises from the craving, If we look, if we analyze, if we observe into ourselves, craving or attachments, if I'm worried about something, if I have some anxiety, worry and fearful of something, why am I fearful of that? Why I have that anxiety? Why I'm worried so much about that? Because we're attached to something, and I don't want to lose that. Be it personal level or be it on more bigger level, we're attached to this idea of peaceful, harmonious world. This idea of very peaceful, harmonious world, we're attached to that. So when we see the world is not peaceful, the world is not in harmony, so much divisions, so much chaos, then it brings us much more fear, much more worry, anxiety, and that can lead to many, many other negative emotions, depressions, some cases, frustrations, anger, and all of that. So, it's two different things, attachment and out of compassion, having concern. When you have someone has true compassion, and out of true concern, because of that compassion, you have true compassion. Out of that, you have concern for the well-being of yours, others as well, well-being of the world, well-being of the sentient beings. And when you see the pain and sufferings, definitely you feel the pain and suffering, but it doesn't lead to the same level of the kind of strong fear, anxiety, worry that we have at the moment. It doesn't lead to that same level of the worry, fear, anxiety, frustrations, anger, it doesn't lead to that. So basically, all this is coming from attachments, And again, if we look further than that, you can see one example of that, if I might say, from your observations, from His Holiness Dalai Lama, he has incredible compassion, concern for the situation of the world. He always think about that. He constantly trying to engage himself to improve the situations in whatever way he can participate. He try to encourage all of that, and he always take actions to change, whether it's climate, environmental things, whether it's reduce the pain and sufferings in every way. With so many his project actions, he's very active in all of that. Despite that, and he see the pain and suffering of the sentient being now going through that because of the everything that is going on. But you see, he has concern, but he's not so worried. He's not fearful. He doesn't have that anxiety. So does that mean he is not concerned? Does that mean he doesn't have any kind of compassion, no concern, indifference to this pain and suffering that is going in the world? Absolutely not. So that is the difference, the different effect on our emotional level of true compassion, concern, sense of concern that come through attachment, true compassion, and the effect of attachment on mental level is so different, so different. Even though they seem very similar, attachment and compassion people can get confused with those two feelings because there is a lot of similarity. But they are two different states of mind, and they have two different strong impact on our physical well-beings. I think there are some research that was done with a nurse, healthcare and nurse, because they are overwhelmed by a lot of the pain and suffering they see in the hospitals with the patients, constant kind of pain and suffering because they have to encounter that constant kind of, they have to deal with constant pain and suffering all the time because all they see is people who are suffering because of sickness, all of that. So a lot of time they get overwhelmed, very much overwhelmed. And I think they did some meditations on compassion for those nerves, and see. And so over the time, I don't know how many weeks or months that they did, each day, certain period of meditation, they guide them, lead them, and ask them. And then over the time, as their compassion increases, improve through meditation and practice, their feeling of overwhelm becomes reduced. That is what I'm saying about the difference between attachment and compassions that lead to different state of minds. Attachment will not be able to lead to that kind of not being overwhelmed. The more attached I am to myself or my family, my friend, the more I feel suffering of them, the more overwhelmed I become. The more overwhelmed I will become. But when you really started with the meditation compassion, it helped you to overcome the feeling of overwhelmness and all of that. So then you are able to respond better, and you are able to treat better, help better, because yourself is not being too overwhelmed, So that, because we are talking about this verse, who is there to crave and what is there to be craved for. So craving here referring to attachments, Attachment is kind of in Tibetan, anyway, we have talked before, it meant different translation. And so, as I was saying, attachment is one of the main cause for all those negative emotions that bring so much pain and miserable and unhappiness, So when we get attached to any objects, or when we crave any objects, when we have strong want or wanting of some objects, or strong desire for some object, whatever object that is, if we understand the emptiness, of that object of the desire itself, the desire itself, and the person, yourself, who is desiring or craving or having attachment itself, then you realize, with emptiness, then you realize yourself is empty of truly existence. The attachment or craving itself is empty of truly existence. The object of attachment and craving itself is truly existent, empty of truly existence. When you realize that, then you see there's no object to be attached. There's no you who is attached, and there is no attachment itself. When you realize that, then you don't have the attachment anymore. And when you don't have attachment, then all the fear, worry, anxiety, frustration, anger that arises from those attachments also cease. And when we don't have all this, then all those emotions, then we don't have to suffer. We don't have to be so miserable. Nor we have to create more negative karma due to those emotions. So that is, again, upon analysis. So when we analyze on ultimate analysis, upon such analysis. So when we say analyze, we are talking about ultimate analysis. Okay, we have already talked many times. There are many different levels of analysis. Conventional analysis and ultimate analysis. There are different analysis. So here we are talking about the ultimate analysis. When you do that kind of ultimate analysis, this world of living beings is found to have no true existence. Therefore, who can die here? So again, when we don't realize the emptiness, when we don't have a realization of emptiness, and when we don't realize the emptiness, there's appearance of me, self, who is alive as truly existence. And then I get to this idea of attached to this being alive. And when you get attached to this idea of being alive, then we have a lot of fear of our dying. Do you get it? When you have so much attached to this idea of living alive, so you don't want to lose that because you have strong attachment, clinging and grasping. Because of that, you have fear of losing being alive. And therefore, the fear of dying arises. If you are not attached to this idea of being alive, then you wouldn't have a strong aversion, disliking, or feeling unwanted of the death. And so then you have less fear of that. You will have less fear of that. So again, when we analyze this, then again, this very, the concept, the very idea, the very being alive itself is empty. And since it's empty, therefore, if you are not, if being alive is empty, so then we cannot, then there is no concept of dying. Dying because there's being at one time being alive and then that disintegrate and that then there is a dying. But if there is no alive itself, then there is no. So that is why, therefore, who can die here? So also the person who is being alive and dying, if there is no inherently exist in that person, so then there is no idea of inherently that person living and inherently that person dying. And then there is no truly an inherently person living and there is no truly inherently person dying. So in emptiness, there is no alive and dying. So in emptiness, where it says, there is why in emptiness, there is one test. Everything's in emptiness is one test. In emptiness, there's no soft pain and happiness. In emptiness, there's no good and bad. In emptiness, there's no living and dying. In emptiness, there's no samsara and nirvana. In emptiness, there's no abandonment and nothing to abandon and nothing to achieve. They're all equal. They're all in same mode, same nature, same reality, same taste. But of course, that doesn't mean there's nothing. On conventional level, on relative level, then there is all of that. On conventional level, on relative level, there's pain, there's happiness. Because on conventional or relative level, because there is pain, therefore we have to try to overcome the pain and the cause of the pain. And because there is happiness, therefore we need to achieve happiness and create the cause of happiness on conventional or relative level. On conventional relative level, because there's a delusion that hurts and harms ourselves and others, therefore we have to overcome them. Because on conventional or relative level, because there are those positive state of mind such as loving kindness, compassion, bodhisattva mind, which are beneficial and helpful to oneself and others, therefore we need to actualize and actualize and develop them. On relative conventional level, because samsara is miserable, painful, suffering, we have to abandon and overcome it. On conventional relative level, because nirvana and fully enlightenment is a true, lasting, permanent happiness, and therefore, therefore, we need to achieve that. Even though on conventional level, even on relative level, there is all of that. But on ultimate level, there's none of that. In emptiness, on ultimate level, there's none of that. And so through that understanding, on ultimate level, in emptiness, since there's none of that, therefore we don't cling and grasp to any of them. And if we don't cling and grasp to them, the objects, then we will not have all these delusions, negative emotion arises. And that is the key. Through understanding of relative and conventional world, we started to have a faith in the law of cause and effect, the karma. While we have the conviction and trust in infallible of law of cause and effect of the karma, dependent arisings, at the same time, when we realize the emptiness, the ultimate truth, then while we had convictions to all of that relative world, at the same time, we don't get any clinging and grasping to any of that. And so that is the key. So then the key is to let go of any clinging and grasping. Through that clinging and grasping, then that is where all the attachments, anger, and all other delusions and negative emotion arises. So we shouldn't be confused, okay? We have to understand the true reality, the true truth, simultaneously, both. We cannot neglect and ignore any of those true truth. Both truth is equally important to understand. Otherwise, we fall in one of the extreme. Because a lot of time when we talk about emptiness, the ultimate truth, there's a danger of feeling there's nothing and feeling to one extreme, nihilism. When we talk about relative or conventional reality, again, then again, there is a danger of that thinking all these conventional relative phenomena are truly existence, and then another extremes. So, in order to understand the correct, unmistaken, correct understanding of the emptiness, then we need to find a middle way, free from both extremes. And when we are able to find the middle way, free from both extremes, then that is when we can be able to, when you are able to have the correct and unmistaken realization of emptiness. If we fall in one of those, either of those extremes, then that means our understanding, realization is incorrect. If you fall to any of them. So that being the, so here then the next, is two line of the verse number 153. What is there to come and what has been? Who are friend and who are relative, the same thing, the so-called relative, friends, families to whom we get very attached to, so-called enemy to whom we have strong disliking, aversions, anger. Why do we get attached to our family, friends, relative? Why we get so much, why do we have strong aversions, disliking, anger, hatred towards some, whether we call them enemy or not? Why? But again, because certain objects, the object of attachments, it appears as something beneficial, nice, helpful, good from its own side, truly. And then the object of our dislike, anger, hatred, aversions appear as harmful, as by itself, from truly harmful from its own side by itself, unbeneficial, negative from it. And not only there's appearance of that, then our ignorance believe that appearance and cling and grasp that way. And that is why we have such a strong, two different, opposite emotion towards two different objects. So opposite, opposite, feelings and response towards those two objects. The reason why we have that two different responses is because of that. And due to that, then those our friends, families, then we get attached to them. And then to others, then we get angry and anger. We get anger and hatred and so forth. And through that, then we experience more pain and suffering. And also we create more pain and suffering to others. But when we understand emptiness, even the object appear to us in that way, truly in that way, one as a good and one as a bad, but then even though it appears, but because of your realization of emptiness, your awareness and wisdom is able to be aware. There's nothing that exists from truly from by itself, the way it appears to us. And through that understanding emptiness, so then we don't get so attached to those which appear good and pleasant from by itself, and we don't get so strong, disliking, aversions, anger, hatred to those which appear negative, evil, bad by itself. And wouldn't that be, again, wonderful if we don't have to respond that way? If we don't have to react that way? When we respond and react that way, we are no different from the very people we are upset about. We are upset and angry because we feel those people treat some certain section of people badly. And now we are treating certain section of people just like how they treat the others. What is the difference? You know, of course. So then, you know, then the very reason we're upset and angry, we just do same thing. Because we feel they are discriminating. And we are discriminating. And so, and not because we want to discriminate, but we don't want to discriminate, but we naturally discriminate because of that discriminating mind, because we have no control over that discriminating mind. And that discriminating mind is that, you know, to some we like and to some we dislike. That is a discriminating mind. To some we feel close, to some we feel very distant. To some we have attachment, to some we have aversion and anger. That mind is discriminating mind. And when we have that discriminating mind, then, you know, it comes in our thoughts and in our speech and sometimes in our actions. And fundamentally, it comes from that, you know, ignorance due to not understanding the emptiness. And when we understand the emptiness, then we don't have that discriminating mind. Then we wouldn't have that discriminating mind of being so close to some and so distant to others, being so attached to some and having so much anger and hatred to some others. And when we are in that, when we don't have that discriminating mind, not only we have more peace, calm, more peaceful mind, more calm mind, more undisturbed mind, more agitated mind, but also we create better environment for more peaceful and more harmonious society. If my mind, if I have a discriminating mind, then another one have discriminating mind, everyone discriminating mind, then with that discriminating mind, even we try very hard not to be discriminating, it is hard to do that. Because the mind is there. Even though we try to be very, you know, mindful, cautious of what you say, how you react, but sometimes we cannot stop from being a kind of discriminating in terms of our speech and our behavior, because the mind is there. The discriminating mind is there. And then by doing that, then we kind of hurt someone, we harm someone, we push someone, and then we create that kind of distance and divisions, and thereby create the environment, more divisions and more disharmonious society. And of course, some people, because they are less mindful, or because they don't pay too much attention, because they are less aware of that, they don't put so much effort to stop such behavior and actions. Some others put more effort and try to be more mindful. But basically, inside, in terms of behavior in our speech and our actions, there might be a difference, slightly different, but inside, almost same. And it's very hard to heal. It's very hard to heal the society and really have a really kind of, peaceful and harmonious, as long as we have that discriminating mind inside. Outside we can pretend, but inside still there's that feeling. And so, therefore, we have to get rid of that mind, that discriminating mind. And that discriminating mind comes because of dualistic view of this truly existing enemy and truly existing friends. And in order to overcome that dualistic view of truly existing friend and truly existing enemy, then we have to realize the emptiness, non-dualistic, the emptiness. And so that is what it is saying, What is it there to come and what has been that, and who are friends, who are, and so again, in emptiness, as I mentioned already, there's no coming. There's no coming to the samsara from the past. There's no going. There's no going to the futures in emptiness, But of course, relatively, due to our previous karma, our behavior, actions, we come into this samsaric world. And on relative level, if we do not change our behavior, our actions, our mind, and if we don't reduce our actions, if we don't purify our negative karma, then we will be continues to go to the samsaric rebirth and sufferings on conventional or relative level. But in ultimate level, in emptiness, there's no coming from past to this samsara, and there's no going from here to the futures in the samsara. So again, by understanding that, again, we don't get so caught up to being so grasping to the, again, idea of coming, going, and all of that, Even though we need to create cause and condition to have a higher rebirth, better samsaric rebirth, or get out of that samsara, but still we shouldn't be so obsessed and attached to those ideas. And in order to not to get so attached to that, then we have to let go, clinging and grasping to those. And to do that, then we need to have the realization of emptiness. So, okay, so I think we will have the dedications, yeah.